Young and Restless early spoilers March 24th to 28th. Victor's Bombshell, Phyllis crumbles and Nick says no. On Wednesday, March 19th, we've got Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, asking Nick to go to Europe with her and Faith Newman, Raylyn Castor. She's going to go over there to see Noah Newman, Rory Gibson. But Nick says no. Because he really thinks Sharon needs time with just her and the kids to do some healing. And he encourages her to take Mariah Copeland, Cameron Grimes, as well as Faith when she goes. When Sharon presses him, Nick declines again. But later he says he'll think about it. Sharon and Nick also talk about the possibility of a reunion. Both of them admit they've thought about it. And he tells Sharon he's had the feeling that she was hoping something would happen. But Nick thinks it's a bad idea for them to reunite. Because he hurt her so badly in the past. And he does not want to lose the friendship they have right now. That's kind of a bummer. Because Sharon's been holding out hope for that. But it's a big no to Europe, no to that. Will he relent? We'll see. Chelsea Lawson Newman, Melissa Claire Egan, makes a romantic dinner and dessert for Adam Newman, Mark Grossman. And they have a lot of fun. And then they finish the evening in the bedroom. They make love for the first time since that one night they had in Baltimore last year. And Chelsea and Adam both seem all in. There are no real obstacles in their way. This looks like a softy reunion, so my one question is, which of them will screw it up? Because we know somebody will. Tracy Abbott, Beth Maitland, tells Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, and Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters, that she wants to get married in Paris. But Jack is worried she's going to run off and elope. Tracy promises that she will not and says she wants Jack to walk her down the aisle since her dad, John Abbott, formerly Jerry Douglas, isn't around to do it. Alan Loron, Christopher Cousins, drops her a message to say he got the last seat on a flight to Paris and is going to have a surprise waiting on Tracy when she flies in. Jack's a little worried about how fast it's moving. But Tracy's in love and said they're just going to Paris to look at venues. Then Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, shows up with an update about Phyllis and Sharon, and he gets an update on Tracy's engagement. And when she mentions that Alan was getting these strange alerts on his phone about a clinic, Kyle thinks that's a pretty strange coincidence. Because Phyllis and Sharon, although they're safely home now, were held captive at a clinic. And Tracy wonders if the kidnapper might be targeting Alan. Oh, poor girl. Sorry, no. The kidnapper is your fiancé, or more likely his evil twin Martin, unless of course Alan has turned up with did like Ashley Abbott, Eileen Davidson, did. But I assume it's not contagious and that it's just Martin. Young and the Restless. Phyllis's post-kidnapping trauma and Summer's concern. Summer Newman, Allison Lanier, is very worried about Phyllis. And she tells Nick that her mom hasn't been herself. She's been on edge a whole lot since her ordeal and since she got home from the kidnapping. And Summer wants Nick to come check on Phyllis with her and see how erratic that she has been. Now, that is the last episode of the week, by the way. Because on Thursday, March 20th, and Friday, March 21st, we have no new episodes of The Young and the Restless. It's preempted on both days due to CBS Sports coverage of March Madness basketball. And all I have to say about that is boo. We could watch sports on ESPN if we wanted to. How many ESPN are there? I know on my cable there's like ESPN 1, 2, 3. There's at least 3. Why does it have to be on CBS replacing YNR? Young and the Restless spoilers. Victor's secrets, Phyllis's struggles, and Sharon's rejection. Moving into the week of March 24th through the 28th, Phyllis is in a really bad state. She seemed very positive when she and Sharon got out of there, and she told Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, she was ready to move forward. And she wanted to just get to work on Abbott Communications. And Billy was down with that. But things have taken a turn. Summer is completely right that Phyllis is erratic, and she is falling apart, some kind of aftershocks from her kidnapping ordeal, and Nick does show up to check on Phyllis as Summer requested. But it doesn't look like he is who Phyllis wants. She really wants Billy to help put her back together, which that's very nice that he's willing to do it. But that cannot be a good thing for Sally Spectra's, Courtney Hope, romance with Billy. Meanwhile, Victor has some sort of secret connection to Alexander Dumas. That's the guy who owns the companies that Damian Kane, Jermaine Rivers, is running and lied and said that he owns, so it's all very complicated. So when Victor was looking into Damian, obviously he knew about a lot of this. A lot more is known to him than what he shared with Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, so it seems like he definitely has a connection to Dumas, possibly also to Damian. Now it doesn't look like Victor is a fan of this guy Duma when he talks to Michael Baldwin, Christian LeBlanc, about their association. Spoilers for Young and the Restless. Alan's deception unravels and Sharon's romantic dilemma. So fake Alan has taken off out of Genoa City. I suspect to get away from the scene of his crime that he committed against Sharon and Phyllis on Young and the Restless. Actually a lot of crimes if you think about it. And I wonder if the surprise that fake Alan is cooking up for Tracy is good or bad. It's hard to tell what this guy's endgame is and if he plans to hurt Tracy or if Alan loves her or if he just, I don't even know, it's so bizarre. Tracy though finally wises up, and she starts having some doubts. And it might be that info from Kyle about the clinic alerts and that Phyllis and Sharon were held at a clinic that finally has Tracy sitting down and cataloging all the red flags over the past few months, like when he acted like he'd never seen the Abbott house before, which would be true of Martin. But not true of Alan. Because he had visited there with Ashley before Tracy had brought him there, so that's one big thing. Young and the Restless. Will Sharon give up? Then there's the fact that when the alerts were coming in and he said his phone was hacked, then he said he hadn't been using his phone. And Tracy reminded him he absolutely had been using his phone. Because he had been texting her. So there's a lot of inconsistencies. Tense corners of Genoa City. The storm everyone feared has finally broken loose. The Newman family, the Abbotts, and even the ever-scheming Phyllis Summers find themselves caught in a whirlwind of consequences. All sparked by one man. Victor Newman. The mustache has done it again. And this time, his bombshell sends shockwaves that no one could have predicted. Victor's unstoppable move. It began in the Newman boardroom, that grand chamber of power where empires rise and egos crumble. Victor sat at the head of the table, his steely gaze scanning the faces before him. Nikki looked anxious, sensing something monumental was about to happen. Adam wore that trademark smirk, confident he'd finally earned his father's respect. Nick stood tense, jaw tight, ready for another battle. And Victoria, cool as ice, crossed her arms, daring anyone to challenge her authority. Then, Victor dropped it. "I've made a decision," he said, voice low and commanding. "Newman Enterprises will merge with Chancellor Winters. Effective immediately." The room froze. "What?" Victoria snapped. "You can't be serious, Dad. We're talking about two different worlds colliding." Victor didn't flinch. "It's already in motion. Jill agreed this morning. The merger will strengthen our reach in every sector. Media, energy, real estate, and tech. It's the future of Newman." Adam's smirk widened. Finally, a move with some edge. "Count me in." But Nick wasn't having it. He pushed back from the table. "No. Not this time, Dad. I'm not part of another one of your power plays." The silence that followed was deafening. Nikki's eyes darted between her husband and son, her heart pounding. She knew that look in Nick's eyes. It was final. He'd reached his limit with the corporate chaos that always tore the family apart. Victor leaned forward, his voice soft but lethal. "You'd walk away from your family's legacy?" Nick's reply was steady, but his tone was layered with years of resentment. "I'd walk away from anything that destroys the people I love." And just like that, Nick Newman said no to Victor, again. But this time it felt different. Final. Permanent. Phyllis's crumbling world. Meanwhile, across town at the Grand Phoenix, Phyllis Summers stood alone in her suite, her hands trembling as she scrolled through an email that could shatter her fragile comeback. The words blurred before her eyes, a notice from her lawyer, confirming that the charges related to her faked death and Jeremy Stark scheme were officially resurfacing due to a new witness statement. Her stomach dropped. She'd fought so hard to rebuild her reputation, to win back Daniel's trust, to find some stability after a lifetime of chaos. And now, it was slipping through her fingers again. "Oh no, 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 no," she whispered, pacing the room. Her phone buzzed, a message from Summer. "Mom, can we talk? It's about Dad." Phyllis's chest tightened. The timing couldn't be worse. She'd barely managed to rebuild a fragile peace with her daughter after the mess she'd caused. Now, the truth she'd buried was threatening to explode. She dialed Summer immediately. "Honey, what's wrong? Is it Kyle?" Summer's voice cracked on the other end. "It's Dad. He's been drinking again. And I think he's hiding something from me." Phyllis closed her eyes, the guilt nearly suffocating her. Everything, every lie, every desperate decision, always came back to haunt her family. Later that night, as she sat in the dim light of her hotel room, Phyllis looked at her reflection in the mirror. The strong, fiery woman who once ran circles around her enemies now looked broken. Haunted. Lost. For the first time in years, Phyllis whispered a truth she never wanted to admit. I'm my own worst enemy. And the tears came. Hot, relentless, and full of regret. Nick's final straw. At society, Nick sat across from Sharon, his oldest friend and the one person who still understood him. They nursed coffees in silence before Sharon finally asked, You really told Victor you're out? Nick nodded. I'm done, Sharon. I can't live in that cycle anymore. The manipulation, the lies, the guilt trips. Every time I think Dad's mellowed, he pulls something bigger. Sharon tilted her head. You've said that before. What makes this time different? Because now, Nick said, his voice steady, I have nothing left to prove. I'm tired of being the son who has to fix everything. I want peace, for myself, for my kids. Maybe even for you. The last line lingered between them, loaded with old memories and unspoken what-ifs. Sharon smiled faintly, but her eyes were wistful. Peace doesn't come easy in Genoa City. Nick chuckled. Tell me about it. But deep down, Sharon knew this wasn't a phase. Nick meant it. He was finally choosing himself, something no Newman ever did without consequences.